we're going to look at next is how you would put swing onto a synth part or something like that in your track. So let's get something pretty simple. Let's get like a little chord stab of some sort. So let's go with something classic like that. And I'll sort of show that you can use these rhythmically and you get, it fits in with the same groove as the drums. So I'm just going to program in a little pattern with this. So you'll notice the pattern I've played with this little sort of piano stab is I've made sure all the notes are on those, as I was talking about before, the 2nd and 4th sixteenths of every beat, and that means that they'll get exaggerated by the swing. So at the moment they've got they don't have the swing on. And straight away, it kind of ties into the groove. It's got that bit of funk going on, and just generally sounds, sounds a bit more interesting. So that's a pretty straightforward one, really. If you've got any of those simple stab patterns, just make sure that you've got them on the same swing as the rest of your track. So that's a pretty straightforward one. One thing to mention on that, I'm just going to busy this pattern up a little bit, just for the purposes of illustration. Because there's something that I often do on tracks that you have to be very careful of when you're using swing. So let me just put this back to, I'll put it on, turn the swing back off. And I'm going to put a rhythmic delay on it. Let me just solo the kick on here just so we've got a rhythm. So let's say that was my sort of pattern that I wanted to put in my track. And it's something I would very often do on that would be to put a little bouncing delay on it. So let's go into audio effects, delay and loop, and let's use echo. So we'll get a little bouncing delay on. And what I'd often do would be to use a dotted eighths. So this sort of delay. Which sounds pretty nice, sort of dub techno, dub techno standard. Sounds really nice. And it's all rhythmic because those 3/16 delays mean that sort of the delay from this one lands here, the delay from that one lands there, the delay from that one lands 1, 2, 3 there. So everything's all landing in the same rhythm as one another, and the delays kind of fill out the gaps, which works really well. Now the problem is that when every 16th is the same length or in the same timing, anything can land anywhere and it's always in time. Now as soon as you start moving some of these out of time, not that one, but these ones are getting moved to, let's say, there and there, it means that the delays from those might not land in the right place. So if we just turn the swing on, you'll hear what I mean. So you can hear now that when there's either one of these notes on the offbeat or if I had one on the beat, they're landing on a sort of a different grid almost to where the other ones are, which doesn't sound great. You know, you lose that nice flowing dubby echo kind of thing, and it just sounds a little bit jarring. You know, it's maybe something you might want to use occasionally, but it certainly doesn't have the effect that it did without the swing. So all you have to do with that is just be careful to only use don't use dotted things basically. So a dotted eighth delay would mean that the delays are that long each. So if you just use an eighth or a quarter, it means that it's fine because even these delayed ones will still land on an appropriate place. So let's change that and you'll hear the difference. So we'll change that from dotted eighths to just eighths. So change that to that. And we'll still get that same flowing feeling, but we then get to have the swingy feel as well. So yeah, that's just another little pointer really. Sort of when you're using rhythmic delays with anything swung, be careful to make sure you only use sort of multiples of 2/16 basically, because that's where the swing's affected. So eighths are fine, quarters are fine, 2 beats is fine, any of those. But if you start using 16ths or 3/16, then you'll yeah, it'll start to trip itself over and doesn't really work. So good little solution to a problem that you might have.